Good evening and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this month's Global Women's Peace Network webinar brought to you by Women's Federation for World Peace. My name is Kayleigh Moffitt, and I am the president of Women's Federation for World Peace in the USA. And I'm very excited about today's webinar. We have such a great lineup today, and the topic is near and dear to my heart. And I think something all of us can relate to in today's age. We're talking about eco-peace, the responsibility of humanity. Now, no matter what your affiliation is politically, I think we all can appreciate the environment that we live in. I know my life is busy, and one of the things I love to do most is be able to get out in nature, and suddenly I feel refreshed and ready to go back into my busy life. But the importance of taking care of that environment, if I didn't have that, if it was completely devastated because of not being able to take care of it, that's what we want to talk about today, that we as human beings have a responsibility to take care of our environment. Today also actually is the first day of COP28, which is the UN's climate conference that's happening in Dubai today. So the timing is spot on with what's happening in the United Nations. And they're going to be discussing some pretty high-level conversations. They bring together over 100 member UN representatives who can talk about these issues and make agreements to be able to support a more environmentally sustainable future. Especially today, you know, we're really fortunate because Women's Federation is founded by a woman I really love and respect, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon. And a lot of our work is based on her peace philosophy. It's something we try to bring into the projects we do, the topics that we talk about, because we really see her as a model for especially women leaders in this time. And there's 3 points that I just want to bring up today before we hear from each of our very distinguished speakers. And this has to do with Mother Moon's peace philosophy regarding the environment, which is what we base today's webinar on. And I will bring up just a few slides here, which are not ready. So here we go. Okay, thanks for your patience. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about just 3 of these points. And this first point is that we really believe that the peaceful environment that we talk about with this catchphrase of eco-peace is actually the original dream of our Creator. And no matter what religious background you may come from or spiritual background you may come from, we at Women's Federation for World Peace honor our Creator. No matter what that background may be, I think we all can come together and honor the uniqueness of our Creator. And when we look at the way that creation was made, there's a harmonious existence and in the purity of the existence of the environment. And I just want to read this one quote from Mother Moon. She says, "Human beings and nature have an inseparable relationship. We can be enlightened to God's act of creation and his mystical truth through nature, which represents him, only when we live in it, invest in it, and study it. We can feel the kind of infinite joy and love that God felt when he created the earth for us." And I love that because, like I said, when I go in nature, I suddenly can remember, oh yes, this is the peace I want within myself. This is the peace I want within my family. This is the peace I want within the world. And that our Creator designed the creation for us to be able to experience that and infuse it into our everyday lives. The next point that comes from Mother Moon's peace philosophy for the environment is that humanity has an unfortunately unfulfilled responsibility to take care of the environment. Her belief is that it's our responsibility to take care of the environment. And some of us are doing a good job, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done to actually fulfill this responsibility. She often talks about what's happening in the environment, and this quote from one of her speeches earlier this year says, "Today our planet suffers immensely due to ignorance of human beings. How is it that this beautiful earth, which God created for humankind, has suffered such changes? We cannot merely stand quietly on the sidelines. The sole path to our resolving these issues and safeguarding our future is attending our Heavenly Parent, which is our Creator, as our center and working together. And then the last piece, which is, I think, something that doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to sustainability and the environment, is that creating this, what we call eco-peace, requires multilateral and multifaceted teamwork. Requires us seeing beyond just what we think is important and the ideas that we're coming up with, and to actually exchange those ideas and work together, lend the technologies that we're building so that we can work towards a better future for the entire world, not just our little bubble. And one more quote from Mother Moon on this topic. She says, "It's contrary to God's will for one individual to gain possession of everything, or for one country not to share its scientific developments, technologies, and resources in the times of need, or use such things to dominate other nations." Yes, some person or group in some country develops each new technology, but the next step is to enable others to benefit so that all can enjoy health, well-being, and comfort. This is the way of mutual prosperity. So it's some fascinating topics here, and I know that those who are speaking tonight are going to add a lot more to the table, but that's the foundation I'm offering to kick off this webinar. And today we have three amazing women who are leaders in their own rights who are going to be sharing with us. And I'm going to bring up our first speaker now. Each of our speakers is going to offer their insights and their perspective and also their experience on these different ideas. And then at the end, we'll have a brief discussion with a few of us on this topic and how we can really bring this practice of eco-peace into our life and into our work. So we are going to start with Lynette Two-Bulls. She is of the Oglala Lakota Northern Cheyenne. She is the co-founder and executive director of Yellowbird Lifeway Center, located in Lame Deer, Montana, land of the Northern Cheyenne Nation. She is also a cultural consultant and storyteller and works tirelessly to keep the knowledge of her elders alive through teaching and sharing of intergenerational knowledge, focusing on food sovereignty, youth leadership, and facilitating youth to participate in history and healing from trauma through the annual Fort Robinson Outbreak Spiritual 400-mile run, which is now in its 28th year. Another important aspect of Ms. Two-Bulls' work is advocacy for health and wellness of women and children and their connection to the land. She strongly believes women are the foundation of our nations and the children are the future. Yes, we're in agreement on that. She is the recipient of the first People's Fund Community Spirit Award and the Firekeeper Award for her work with Yellowbird Lifeway Center. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Lynette Two-Bulls to share with us. Welcome.
Well, thank you. And I'm so honored to be here. I'm going to say a greeting in my own language, the Lakota language. Mitakiapi, Chantewashte, Nape, Chizapi, na Duenya Kiapi Mie, na Wopila Tanka, Ichichape. I just greet each and every one of you here today from my heart. And I come to you from Lame Deer, Montana. My traditional name is Scouts the Way Woman, which was given to me by my grandparents. And I was very fortunate to be raised by them, Matthew and Nellie Two-Bulls of the Oglala Lakota Nation. And they were culture bearers and keepers of our language, our songs, our history, basically our lifeways. And so I was very fortunate to, have a lot of teachings passed down to me through them, in which I use in every aspect of my life. And one of the teachings that comes to mind today is a word we say, mitakuye oyasi. And what that means is all my relatives or all my relations. And so when we speak and we we end our speech, or if we're talking, or we end our prayer, or if we're sharing at the end, we always say mitakuye oyasin. And what that means is it's an acknowledgement of our connection to everything in the circle of life, all of the universe. So we're acknowledging that we're connected to the animal nations, the plant nations, everything up in the sky, the bird nations, under the water, in the water, underneath the ground, like our connection to everything. And we acknowledge that connection. We see them as relatives. So we don't see them, as something below us, like eminent domain, where we look down, we're above it. We don't view it that way. We view everything that we're connected. We're deeply connected to, all of the universe and everything in the universe. So when we say that, mitakuye oyasi, it's an acknowledgement of that, and it's foundational. It's a foundation of all of our way of life. And so I'm a director of a nonprofit Yellowbird Lifeway Center, and it's really about reconnecting us to our lifeways, our traditional lifeways. And we do food sovereignty, which is a big part of connecting to the earth. And, all of food sovereignty, the medicines that come from the earth that sustain us, and they can heal us. The foods that we eat that provide nourishment for our bodies comes from the earth. So we're deeply connected. And one thing that we always tell the younger generations is that we are connected to the earth like we were connected to our mother through our umbilical cord. And that's how powerful and how strong that connection is. And what you do to the earth, you do to yourself, or you do to us, and so we have to take care of our mother or our grandmother. Some cultures call her grandmother, some say Mother Earth, but it's that feminine energy. And the feminine energy represents that things are worth living for. It represents life, and it represents connection, and it represents the moon and the sun. And even the word, say, wia, which means woman. If you break that word down, we means the sun. It actually represents the sun or the moon when you say we. And so when we acknowledge women and our connection to all of that, we have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility in that circle of life. Every one of us does. And when we acknowledge that responsibility and step into that and bring our own gift, each one of us has a gift to offer the circle of life. Every one of us. Creator, the universe blessed us with our gifts, and we bring that to this circle. And so when we each bring our gifts to that circle, it makes the circle strong. It, like that ball, that round ball. And, and it becomes like a spiral. And this energy that's created from all of our gifts that come to the circle of life, it's an upward spiral. It's upward. And it's easy to get caught up in the downward spiral, and the negative that pulls us down, and our thoughts and the energy, especially in the world today. It's a very downward spiral, linear thought process. But our teachings tell us that everything's a circle, everything's that spiral, and we're connected. And one time I even had my partner, he said, even when you flush the toilet, it's a downward spiral, it's a spiral. But everything's that spiral, our DNA. If you look at the strands of our DNA, it's a spiral. And so when we can all come together with our gifts, we empower the circle. And when you empower the circle will empower you, and the circle will uplift you, and we all come together. But if you try to overpower the circle will overpower you. And today we see, in the world, what's happening to Mother Earth and everything that has been done to Mother Earth. And we're taught that Mother Earth knows how to cleanse herself. Mother Earth knows how to protect herself. And that's why we see such extreme, weather patterns and things. Mother Earth is trying to cleanse herself and protect herself from everything that's being done to her. So these are all of the teachings that, just a little bit of the teachings that were taught from our elders, and that we teach the younger generation. The passing of intergenerational knowledge is so crucial, because in that circle of life, you have that circle. And if you can imagine the four quadrants, that whole top half, they say that's, children in that circle of life. Children are at the top, and we go around to adolescent, adult, and then on this other side at the top are our elders. And they say that top half of the circle of life is the most important, because that represents the children and the elders. And the children, the infants, just came from the other side to this world, to this earth. And our elders are getting ready to go back across the other side. And our children represent the future generations. And our elders represent the wisdom and the knowledge that needs to be passed to the next generation. So everything that we do, and everything, in the work, it's work, but we say it's a way of life. There's no, it's all connected. So everything we keep, that is at the center of everything. And our connection to the earth, and the word mitakuye oyasi, all my relatives. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Lynette. That so much wisdom came out of that. And I realized today is actually the last day of Native American Heritage Month, and it's so fitting to be able to hear from you. It's like such a deep perspective on the earth and our relationship with the earth. And I love this concept. Women's Federation, we often talk about the role of the mother's heart. And you brought out this point that from your teachings, the earth is the mother, right? And that we're connected to the earth, and it creates space for the harmony. Even the word, I think it was Wia, right? Woman, representing the sun or the moon, the harmony, which is really the feminine spirit. And how, if we could tap into that, not only could we accomplish this concept of eco peace, but we could channel this peace in every other area of our life. So yeah, very powerful. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hearing more from you in our discussion later.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like I have to deep breathe that in. That was fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to welcome our second speaker for today, Dr. Manulani Aluli Meyer. She is of the Aluli Ohana, a large and diverse group of scholar activists dedicated to Hawaiian education, justice, land reclamation, law, health, cultural revitalization, arts education, prison reform, food sovereignty, transformational economics, and music. It's quite a list there. Manu works in the field of Indigenous epistemology and its role in the worldwide awakening. Professor Aluli Meyer obtained her doctorate in philosophy of education from Harvard in 1998. And she is a worldwide keynote speaker, writer, and international evaluator of Indigenous PhDs, and her background is in wilderness education, coaching, and experiential learning. Dr. Aluli Meyer is currently the Konohiki for Kulani o Kapolei, a Hawaiian place of learning at University of Hawaii, West Oahu, and the co-founder of New Now, a community cultural agroforestry movement emerging to affirm the importance of new coconut Ulanyu coconut groves in the revitalization of Hawaiian culture, ecological conservation, and food security and healing. Now, I did my best on all those pronunciations, so you have to forgive me if I misstepped there, but we're so excited to have you joining us, Dr. Aluli Meyer. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage. Welcome.
Ulua e ke velina a ke aloha. Ulua e ke velina a ke aloha. Ulua e ke velina ke aloha. Aloha mai kākoa, pau e ku'u mau hoa, lono i ka makahiki. Happy makahiki season, everyone. Kaylee, thank you for that kindness. And Lynette, I was just crying through your presentation. I just feel such a connection because you're speaking of the energetic field of continuity. And your kupuna, your elders, how fortunate to have been brought up by them. What a blessing. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the clarity that you posit. And thank you for being that clear. Because I remember Uncle Leroy Little Bear, when I was saying, you know, Earth is a metaphor for our mother, he scolded me. He said, Manu, the Earth is not a metaphor for our mother. The Earth is our mother. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that just changed everything 25 years ago for me, because we say Papa Hanau Moku. But, you know, I haven't had a kupuna tell me that Papa Hanau Moku, our word for Earth, is our mother. You know what I mean? Papa is our old term. So because we've been ostracized from our language, we're regaining through the practice of our own understanding. So I want to tell you what a great reason to gather. Kaylee, you did so well on on everything. And Grace, thank you for the invitation. And Donna, thank you for the invitation. You know, today is a ho'ailona for us, because this is an eco peace movement. The ho'ailona means portends. We are women, the majority of us, except you, Ray, maybe snuck in here, we are of the earth. We are the feminine rising. We are who we've been waiting for. And we have to encourage each other in a way that animates us instantly because of the needs of our time. Because what I loved your three summaries of Mother Moon's ideas, because they mirror my cousin Emmett. Today is his Ahukuluwai Maka. That's why I have to leave early. This is the last gathering of tears, because he died a year ago today. He was the main guy that helped bring Kaho'olawe back, one of our islands that was bombed for 50 years. He brought it back. So our family is meeting in town, and I live in the Koihivi, so I gotta go pretty soon. But I wanted to really talk to you guys of those three things, because the original design of our Creator is the love of our natural world. That is indigenous common sense. All right. So don't feel excluded from the word indigenous, gang. Do not feel excluded. All indigenous means right now, for us, we say mo'o. Mo'o is our synonym for continuity. It means if we do not have earth at the center of our thinking, if we don't care for our mother at the center of our principles and values, we are not going to last. And so the center of what Mother Moon was saying with as the original design of our Creator is the natural world, is the indigenous mind. There's no ifs, ands, or but about it. You have to love land, serve people. That's it. Love land, serve people. That's it. That is Hawaiian epistemology. Epistemology is a high mucky muck term, but all it means is the things that we value and the principles that we embody. Number 2, unfulfilled responsibility. You know what? That's because capitalism is at the center of our thinking, and that is absolutely not where the mo'o lives. That is not where continuity lives. We must wake up and name the elephant in the middle of the room, and that is our thinking. People don't know that capitalism is an epistemology, is a philosophy of knowledge, is a way of seeing the world, because that unfulfilled responsibility is about not seeing it correctly. The word for knowledge in Hawaiian is to see, ike, is to see. That's our word for knowledge. And so the unfulfilled responsibility that Mother Moon speaks about, which I love diversity as a Buddhist and recovering Catholic and indigenous pagan, I love the diversity of our world. You know what I mean? Come on, let's go, girls. Because the focus of Hawaiian thinking is aloha aina. Aloha aina is, of course, the love and the cherish and the devotion to land, skies, waterways, period. It is at the center, and it summarizes our philosophy. So if we are not doing that, and we are not, because of the curriculum of our current school systems, both K through 12 and beyond. So we are so doing our best here in Hawaii, doing our best. And so I feel that that multifaceted teamwork that Mother Moon is asking us to develop is our term for Awamo Kuleana. So going back with what Lynette is speaking of, is that when you go back to an energetic field that you learn from your elders, your kupuna, you're basically handing off the sense of continuity. It's not like we're guessing. We're not guessing. Indigenous scholar practitioners, we don't guess, we don't even theorize, we know. That distinction of knowing and theorizing is the difference between Western academia and indigenous academia, which is we know, we come in and the grace of our elders just fills a room when they come in. Yeah, Lynette, when they come in, it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And so the multifaceted teamwork is called Awamo Kuleana for us. Awamo, see, in Hawaiian, what's the word? I have 1 more minute. Thanks, you guys. There's 3 ways to interpret a word. Ho'opukuku, which is the literal, kauna, which is the metaphor, and then the final is noahuna, which is the esoteric. And the esoteric personal meaning of Awamo Kuleana is collective transformation through individual excellence. Collective transformation through individual excellence. But the main idea is you've got to know what your individual excellence is. And that's what standardization stops us in America, just cuts it out because of the uniformity and our lust for control and standardized thinking. So that's it for me, Kaylee. I so appreciate this opportunity, ladies and Ray. Thank you for having me, and blessings for this practice of peace, gratitude, and excellence, which our Makahiki season is all about. Peace, gratitude, and excellence. That's how we celebrate the winter season, as in our elemental forms of Lono Ika Makahiki, comes to greet us with heavy clouds and rains and short rainbows. So thank you very much. Aloha mai kākou pau.
Wow.
Thank you.
Aloha, thank you. Yeah, so profound. Actually, both of your sharings, I just want to thank you because it's this topic often gets talked about at a high level, from the mind and from intellectual understanding, but especially just your last sharing, Dr. Lily Meyer, is like I had to hold back my own tears, but it's like it speaks to your soul, speaks to your heart. And you said it so poignantly. You said, if we don't have the earth at the center of our principles and our values, then we're not going to last. And I love that because it's so true. And it's so simple, actually, but we've gotten so far from our essence, our original essence, which is how the Creator designed us, as the creation as a reflection of our essence. And so we should learn and interact from that perspective. And I also just want to offer tribute to, I think his name was Emmett, and I think it's very, I hope that this, even just this webinar, can be an additional tribute to your ceremony later today, which is really a beautiful tradition as well. And we send our well wishes to him and your family as you go through your ceremony later today. And thank you for the time that you could share with us. So thank you very much. Oh, I feel so filled up already. We have one more speaker that we're going to hear from today. And, you know, we're covering all over the United States, which is really wonderful. I'd like to welcome Reverend Carol Pobans. She's the director of Peace In from the Universal Peace Federation. She is a multifaceted individual. She is first and foremost a spiritual leader who's been involved in ministry work for more than 45 years. She's pastored several churches over a 20-year period, but refuses to be defined solely in terms of traditional church ministry. She's organized and guided interreligious service and art-based service projects as a member of the Universal Peace Federation and the Religious Youth Service in the United States, Europe, Central America, and in the Caribbean. Carol founded Peace In, which is a cultural exchange project aimed at building international friendships and facilitating peace through communal arts. She's also co-directed 3 projects in Porto Leda, Paraguay, the location of an eco-friendly, sustainable development settlement founded by Reverend and Dr. Moon, the Leda settlement. Additionally, and perhaps most important, Carol is a devoted wife and a mother to 4 grown sons and a grandma to 3 grandchildren. She's a graduate of the Philadelphia College of Art, aka the University of the Arts, as well as of the Unification Theological Seminary. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Carol Pobans to share with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Amy. And thank you so much, ladies, for your wonderful talks. I found myself thinking of this an indigenous woman from the United States, indigenous from Hawaii, and here's indigenous from New Jersey. I'm sorry that I don't have a language of my own, but you know, as I hear you speaking, I need to change a lot of what I have written as I talk today. I'm just gonna kind of get to the chase, and what I want to do is I want to share 4 stories, 4 very short stories about projects that I've worked on, and yeah, because I've learned from each of these. Each of the projects that I've done, I've always learned from either the young people that I'm working with, the adults, the people that I'm working with, the materials that I work with, the communities, and also the nature around us. So I want to begin with a story about the first project that I did was in Honduras. It was a service project. I had never done one before in my life, and it was in Honduras. After Hurricane Mitch, which was a hurricane that destroyed 20,000 people, killed 20,000 people, destroyed the entire infrastructure of the nation and all of the bridges and everything. And anyway, I went down there and I was working in a small community called El Sapo. And when I went down, I thought to myself, here I am, first project, American woman going down to help the poor people of this nation, this developing nation, the poor, ignorant people of Honduras. At that time, that's the way I equated things, as poor and ignorant. And anyway, I went down and we were working to clean up a community. And I had this one young child. Children always come out for projects like that. And there was a little boy about 9 years old, and he was pushing a wheelbarrow. As a matter of fact, he was running with the wheelbarrow. He was so enthusiastic. And as he was running, the wheel fell off. And I thought to myself, oh, great, this junk equipment, you know, now we have to go out and buy a new wheelbarrow. Well, you know, that little boy didn't take but a second to scan the ground. He found a piece of wire, he put the wheel back on, and he started running again. And I thought to myself, who's the ignorant one here now? Anyway, that was an epiphany for me. And I recognize that this is something that Manu just mentioned also, that you can learn from anybody. I realized that God has given every one of us abilities, strengths, intelligence, talents, and are placed someplace on the earth to do what we can. And it changed the trajectory of my life, recognizing that people everywhere are just absolutely wonderful, and we can learn from one another. My second story is a story called the Mosaic Community. I was working in Bristol, England, and we were doing a Mosaic project. We were there with young people from the US, from Germany, Japan, Korea, and another nation that I can't remember offhand now. 4 religions, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, and Unificationism. And we were doing this mosaic together. It was on a Pakistani mosque designed by 20 children. I made a composite drawing of their works, and we put it on the mosque. And at the end, one of the Muslim boys said to us, we all of humanity are like the mosaic. We're all broken pieces. But when we work together, we can become something so beautiful. And I added on to that metaphor that, the grout, the cement that you push into the tiles, that really is like our relationship, our connectedness, our love. And I recognized through the mosaic making the importance of connectedness. So I learned from the mosaic as well. Third story is about LEDA, the LEDA community. I went to the LEDA community 3 times. As was mentioned, it's an eco-friendly community, and a number of Japanese men were sent there to build the kingdom of heaven on earth. And anyway, I went there, and it's a very interesting place. One of the people, one of the pioneers of that project, I want to read a quote from him because it's such a beautiful quote. And he talks about the building of the community. He says, day after day, heat and mosquitoes enveloped us, but these things we can endure. It was, however, human relationships that were most challenging. We were together from morning to night with the same people, and everyone became stressed out. Our love tended to dry up. It was surely difficult to practice living for the sake of others. We always met with difficulty. Do you understand that kind of situation? Can you imagine it? No matter how great a leader might be, a person's real nature comes out in difficult times. And then we would begin blaming one another, unable to unite. This is truly hell. Actually, we could endure the external hell, but it's very difficult to persevere through internal hell, which is really emotionally painful. Internal hell is really painful. While I was on that project in LEDA, one of the pioneers drove me to a building, and he said, I'll be right back. He ran in the building. And while I was sitting in the car, these 2 birds landed on the hood of the car, and they seemed to be looking at me, and they came and they hopped closer. And I thought, gee, isn't this funny? The tables have turned, are these birds looking at me or am I looking at them? And I just realized how wonderful it is to be placed and be someplace that is so unaccustomed. The birds were unaccustomed to humanity, and they didn't even know to be frightened. It's just a profound experience to dwell in the pristine nature, as well as amongst people who are striving for divinity. My third and final story is titled Dirt. In the year 2000, I took my family to a workshop in Jardim, Brazil, and that was supposed to be like a kingdom building workshop. And 40 days that we lived together with people from all over the world, families from all over the world, sharing together in one large family experience. Somebody told me before I went, this is the kingdom of heaven on earth. And they even showed me a video of the Amazon jungle, the fauna, the flora, the beauty, the incredible beauty. Well, you know, when I arrived in Jardim, it was the rainy season. And the 30 of the 40 days that I was there, it rained and mud was everywhere constantly. And when I saw that, I just asked God, why did you bring me here? You know? And when I asked that question, I was reminded of a Bible verse from Romans 8:19. For the creation waits and groans and travail, waiting for the adoption of the sons of God. And I realized that never in all of human history has a tablespoon of dirt been loved by humanity with the love of God. And the dirt in Jardim, I might say, was that red stuff, that clay stuff. You know, it sticks to everything. It was on the floor. It was in the shower. It was on the clothes. It was on my children. My children rolled in the mud during that time. They were quite young. It was absolutely everywhere. And I tried to clean it. I tried to manage it. I tried to control it. And when I learned that the dirt was not my enemy, it was, and I was making war on it, and I was trying to control it. But when I attacked it with water and with soap, I tended to spread it around more and make it more difficult to deal with. And then I realized that if I left it alone, the inherent character of dirt is to dry up. And when I allowed it to do its thing, I could just sweep it out of the room. So I learned a profound lesson from one of the not so beautiful things in creation. And that is that, as in the dirt, if you're patient, if you love your enemy, if you study your enemy, if you understand its nature, if you make friends with it, then you could easily make harmony with it. So anyway, the title of the conference today is Eco-Peace, the Responsibility of Humanity. Through all of my experiences, I've come to recognize that through experience, through actually getting to know the people, the community, the thing that I'm working with, we can make peace with things as long as we make friends with it and really learn to love, not from my perspective, but really learn to love from God's perspective. And when we do that, the peace just naturally comes. It's not an external peace that we're looking for. It's the internal peace that will just normally bring about external peace. So thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Carol. I mean, 4 short stories in such a short amount of time, but so many profound lessons that came from those experiences. And I know several of those projects also in connection with Mother Moon's work and Father Moon, their couple founding, you know, the Leda settlement and other such projects, the Jardim project. And I really appreciate that, you know, you make it so practical, that the, you know, peace, again, peace in the concept of working in the UN and high level conversations can seem lofty and so out there, and we need to create institutions and policies. But what you're speaking to here is that peace really can start from these heart-to-heart experiences, both with people, with projects, and with the creation around us. So thank you so much for that wisdom and for being a trailblazer and doing so many projects all over the world. We're really grateful for you sharing with us today. And we're going to actually bring up Lynette and Carol back up just to share a little bit more. I have just a few questions to ask you, and we'll wrap up in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. We'll bring you both up on a panel here. And so much great wisdom has come about already. I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, going to what Lynette was sharing about the kind of the energy and the essence of creation. And I'm curious, both of your takes. You know, Carol, you spoke about, you know, God, the dirt never truly being loved with the heart of God, right? From the creator's perspective. and how often we take for granted the creation around us from this Western society, especially, right? So I'm just curious, both of you, if you could speak to a little bit more about this first point about the creators envisioning the harmonious environment, and what does that tell us about the creator's nature? I'm very curious what you have experienced and what lessons you have learned about the creator through the creation itself. Lynette, could we go to you first to share on that a little bit?
Yeah. I'm just trying to understand the question here.
I can do it. I can rephrase it a little bit more. So
Okay.
How do you understand the creator's nature through the creation?
Mhm.
What have you experienced in creation that tells you about the creator's nature? Does that clarify a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, we're taught that creator is in everything. It's in the universe. Creation is the universe and everything that is within that. And so we're taught a little bit different, that creation is in everything, and it's a universal energy of love, of peace, of light. And it's in everything, and we're connected to it. We have a deep connection. So when we're born with that connection. They say we're born with all of the instructions to life within us when we're born. So when we come to this earth and we start going around that circle of life, we start disconnecting from that, and we start forgetting where we came from. We forget those instructions, and we're actually taught to forget. We're taught to forget the instructions to life and that we're connected to everything. So we start disconnecting, as we're going around that circle of life from that light source, and from creation, and from, all of that is within us. And back to, what I was sharing earlier about Mitakuye Oyase, which is we're connected to everything, and everything is my relative. Where little kids, they say that if you ask a little one, who brought them here? Who brought you over to this world? And they'll tell you, when they're little, they'll say, and it's usually an animal. A rabbit brought me, or, and they'll elaborate on it. They'll tell you this whole story about it. And that's the innocence, and that's the connection that is still there to creation and creator and all of that. As we go around that circle of life, we start to disconnect from it, and we lose our sense of wonder and bewilderment, and we disconnect, and we're moving more into the linear thought processes where imagination is not there. And then we look down upon that. That's not real. That's not truth. That's not, and then that's how we become disconnected as adults, so we no longer believe, so creator is in everything. It's in all of creation. Yeah. And when we keep that sense of wonder and bewilderment, we can truly connect to that, because you can only connect to spirit through your heart and through your right brain. You cannot connect to spirit through your left brain. And that spirit lies within each of us.
It was so profound. I mean, you're expressing being taught that the spirit, the creation, is infused in everything, and there's no delineation. And your explanation of the child, I like your words of wonder, that if we still had that in our regular adult life, we wouldn't have the same level of stress and disconnect, and creating boundaries and walls around ourselves. We could really embrace the cohesion of all the aspects of our life and creation. It's really profound. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Carol, do you want to speak to a little bit just of what you've experienced with creation and what you've learned about the Creator from your perspective?
I'm trying to think of what exactly I want to zero in on it. I think, you know, the very name Creator, our Creator, because I came from an art background, I always see a relationship between the Creator and
Hopefully we get Carol back here.
create all the universe. We can relate to God almost metaphorically with absolutely everything in the creation because it is a part of God, and it's all within us also. That we were created with the waters, we were created with the metals, we were created with all these things are within us. So we have a resemblance of God within us, and yeah. So anyway, I see three things usually through that artistic point of view, that God created us, and we create. If we can embody God, we can create, and we can love. We can be the embodiment of God if we purify our spirit and our heart, and to receive, as Lynette said, you know, that we can, when we travel through this earth, we forget some things, but I think that we can regain those things as we study the nature of God, and try to be an expression of that nature.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, as you were talking, it made me think about how, you know, as you said, we're made with the water and the elements that we see in creation. And so, you know, human beings are also like the microcosm of the creation itself. And we have all the elements within ourselves, which is very much connected to what Lynette was sharing, right? That there are the same elements within all of creation. And there's a harmonious union there between all of those elements. Very profound. So much, so many, like, I feel like we can have little sessions on each of these topics here. I have one more question that I want to ask, that, you know, we have some viewers here on Zoom and some are watching on social media. And, you know, keeping in mind that our COP28 from the United Nations, where they're talking about climate action and what can be done for a more sustainable future, which again, all of these are very high level conversations, right? And formal agreements and things like that. But I'm curious, each of you, what your advice might be. If, you know, we've kind of talked about how humanity has not yet fulfilled its responsibility to care for creation. Of course, all of you are examples of doing that yourselves, but collectively, there's still so much work that needs to be done, and people harbor, you know, their own ideas and their own thinking. But I'm curious what advice you would have if we could give one next step for people who are listening and people who may watch this later, to be able to work towards this idea of eco-peace and harmony with creation and fulfilling our responsibility to care for creation. What would that next step be? What advice might you give to somebody who's listening today? And if it's okay, Carol, I might come back. I'll come to you first, and then we'll go to Lynette. We'll give her the break this time.
You know, there's such a wide space between what's going on in the UN, so very, as you say, very high level things, and very big-minded, the world needs, etc. And then you look at, you know, some of the things that I might be doing. I'm like, you know, okay, I recycle my garbage, you know, I do all these little things, but that whole area in between is so huge, and it's not being used. And I think that it really is important that, first of all, that we use our God-given creativity to come up with ideas. And the other thing is to share those ideas, as we're doing right now. It's only through sharing with people, for example, the indigenous people, the first peoples, and many people from different areas, and to listen to all of the different perspectives from all different areas and walks of life, and that as we share those ideas, we will come to a common understanding, sort of like the boy talking about the mosaic. When each of us as broken people take our talents and abilities, and I think Amanu was speaking about that also, our talents and abilities, and we put those together and really work with concerted effort to understand one another and find the strengths of one another and use those together, we will fill in that bigger space between the UN and the efforts we're making in the kitchen or in the, throwing out our garbage. So that's my thought.
Yeah, that's great. That the collaboration of working with people and honoring the unique gifts and talents is how we fill in that gap. That's fantastic. Thank you. Lynette, how about you? What advice would you give?
To have a relationship with the earth,
Yeah, yeah.
to create a relationship with the earth. The earth is alive, and the earth is, the ultimate matriarch and our mother, and she provides and nurtures us, and so to create that, to have that relationship with the earth, it's going to shift you out of all those big processes and those big ideas and back into yourself. And it's going to allow you to reconnect to your spirit. As you develop a relationship with the earth, you're reconnecting to yourself. Mm-hmm. And if everyone can do that, it's going to shift how you think about the earth and how you view that. And it does, you hear that, how is change created? It's like one person at a time. It really is true. Mm-hmm. It has to start with you. And collectively, all of that energy, collectively creates change and creates shifts. And, so they always say, like, the front lines are everywhere. So there's a lot of different ways to create change. And some people, maybe that's their gift, to look at these big ideas and, these collective movements. But I feel that to have a relationship with the earth and to shift your view of the earth, because a lot of times we're conditioned in Western society, and I call it linear society, to look at things that were above it. We have eminent domain. We're above the animals. We're above the earth. We have control, and when you develop that relationship with the earth, you don't see it that way. That, we're not in control. We're not in control. And so the journey of reconnection starts with a connection to the earth.
Yeah, that's such a good point. How much can we be talking about Earth and the creation, but how much are we experiencing, right? And having a personal relationship with the Earth. If that's not the foundation of our conversation around this, then we're kind of missing the point, right? We're thinking from high level, but not rooted in the creation itself. It's very profound. I want to, thank you so much, Lynette. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Manulani, who had to leave earlier today. But this session has been so insightful, really touching. And Lynette, you're talking often about how the earth is like the mother spirit. I felt in this call so much of the mother spirit coming through, the wisdom coming through from all of you. And I'm so grateful to be able to share this last hour with you. And I hope that this is just opening the door for more partnership with all of you and creating more conversations and projects together on these types of topics. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for everybody who came on our webinar tonight. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. Our next program happens to be this Saturday, which is a Her Story Award, where we are honoring 3 women peacemakers from all over the United States. And you're welcome to join us. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern this Saturday on Zoom. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful evening and last day of November. Take care. Good night. Thank you.